Okay guys, I want to make one add-on to the video on motion that you viewed. And this is an add-on specifically for items that are important for Physics 1. So the first thing is in the motion video I talked about this idea that we can determine your speed by dividing distance by time. In physics, especially when we get mathematical about it, instead of distance, what we're really talking about here is something called displacement. Displacement has the symbol, or has the variable, delta x. Okay, so let me briefly explain the difference between distance and displacement. I could get up and go get in my car and drive to San Diego. All right? If I drive to San Diego following the path of the highway, of course, I'm going to make some turns and things like that. I'm going to be going up elevation and down elevation. So going from here to San Diego, really I couldn't say that that is one-dimensional because I'm moving left and right, up and down. But when we talk about displacement, displacement simplifies that motion. So instead of saying that I went 120 miles, to go from here to there, including the twists and turns and the ups and downs, displacement assumes that you are following a straight line path from the very beginning to the very end. And so, because the distance between 2 points is the shortest distance is a straight line, that would be one-dimensional. So, for instance, where I might travel a distance of 120 miles to get from here to someplace in San Diego, my displacement would actually be less than that because I'm not doing those twists and turns. All right? If I were to go out into the parking lot and get in my car and drive and then came back, remember that by definition, displacement is the distance between where you begin and where you end. If I park in the exact same parking place when I came back from San Diego, what would you say my displacement is? Well, if it's a line from where I started to where I ended, and I ended in the same place, displacement would be 0. All right, so do keep in mind that I could run from here to Brawley and back, and my displacement would be 0, but the distance I traveled definitely would not. I mean, I would have traveled 18, 19 miles. Okay, so that's the difference between distance and displacement. Displacement, this is something also a little unique to AP Physics because we're going to do calculations with this. Displacement can either be positive or negative. So basically, if we have somebody who starts here and walks to their friend's house over here, what I would say is that in going from here to here, let's say that it's 3 kilometers. All right? I have to choose what direction that I'm going to call positive. So with one-dimensional motion, you can have 2 directions. You can either go this way or you can go that way. So I have to define which one's which. Well, I'm going to say that motion in this direction, we're going to say is positive. So if I went to my friend's house and then I walked back home, what I would have to say about this displacement is it is negative because it's in the opposite direction. So with physics, what we commonly will say is we define direction by using a mathematical sign, either positive or negative. And you get to choose. You get to choose which one is positive and which one is negative. But once you do choose, don't change your mind. If I'm going to say that motion in this direction is positive, any motion in the opposite direction must be negative. You want to be careful because sometimes you'll get working on problems and they'll tell you, hey, I walked north and then I turned around and walked south. One of those two displacements has to be negative. Doesn't matter which one you choose, you get to choose it. But if you're going in opposite directions, then one of them has got to be negative. Okay? So to calculate delta x, it's really pretty simple. anytime you have a delta anything, it's a change. Anytime that you have a delta anything, it's always final minus initial. All right, so if I want to know what the change in my bank balance is, I'm going to take the final bank balance and subtract the initial bank balance from it. That's going to give me the change in my bank balance, okay? So anytime you see a delta anything, it's always final minus initial, okay? So one other part that's a little bit different, we went over the speed equation in the video you watched. For AP Physics, you're usually going to see this written like so. You're going to see it's the exact same formula that I showed you in the video. I'm going to slide over just a bit. It's the exact same formula that I showed you in the video. The difference here is we're going to use bar V. The bar over the top of this symbol just means it's average. That's all it means. So average velocity equals delta x over delta t, where delta x is simply the change in your position, which we know as displacement. Okay? Now, you saw it in the video, but you should have this formula on the back page of your comp book. If you have a comp book, we're going to constantly refer to that back page as we move forward, because you won't just get a formula today and then never see it again. That's the reason you're going to know what you're doing, is because we will constantly come back to these formulas as we solve new problems. So this is your add-on for AP Physics 1. I hope you enjoyed the video, got something out of it. If you guys have any questions on this stuff, feel free. I mean, one of the things that I saw when you guys wrote your responses about curiosity and when you lost yours is that many of you guys were afraid to ask questions due to the fact that people may judge you. I will not judge you. Fact is, I love it when you guys ask questions, because it means you're kind of testing what you got up here to see if you really got it right. And I will never, ever make fun of you or judge you for asking a question. All right, so any questions, email them to me. No one else has to know, just you and I, and we'll get you on the straight and narrow so that you know what you're doing there and can be very, very, very successful.